Any man, any game. One-on-one poker and $500,000 just to sit down. This is the challenge that Tom Dwan has issued to the world. Welcome to the Full Tilt Poker Durrrr $1 Million Challenge. Welcome to London's Les Ambassadors Casino for one of the biggest heads-up events, the Full Tilt Poker Durrrr $1 Million Challenge. The poker sensation Tom Dwan will take on 3 of the world's greatest cash game players. When the cards go in the air, we find out if anyone can beat Tom Dwan. His opponents are London businessman Sammy '82 George, Italian high-stakes player Marcello, and Finnish pro Zygmunt. Sammy George was the first guy to really stand up and say, I'll take on Durrrr. Maybe I'm an underdog, maybe I'm not. He was the only guy in the UK to do it, and you got to respect him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sammy's pretty amazing, really. I mean, he's probably been playing poker about 3 years. He started playing £1, £2 limits, and now he's going to be playing against Durrrr, you know, possibly the world's greatest player, certainly, I think, unarguably the greatest online player. And certainly one of the greatest poker players in the world. And fair play to him, you know, he's standing up there and being counted.
He's also a guy, you feel like this is the biggest poker moment he's ever had, and he knows it. He wants it. I mean, there's something to be said for that. Thrilled to be joined throughout this match by Isaac Haxton, known as Love the WNBA online. And you know a bit about Tom Dwan. You've played him.
Yeah, I've played quite a few hands heads up with Tom and some more in ring games.
And this match, I mean, exciting sort of match, because this is kind of what's going on in poker these days. Heads up, deep stack.
Yeah, I think it's just the most exciting format of poker, bar none. Deep stacked, heads up, no limit.
I believe you.
If you had to sort of
flip just to get it over with.
No.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't want to flip for 500K, but we both just were playing terrible and wanted to get it over with.
Sick. Absolutely sick. He,
not as crazy as it sounds. The players would actually just gamble sometimes for large, huge amounts online. A flip thing.
Oh, yeah. Some of the Chinese poker action I've seen with these sorts of guys.
Well, into the game now, and it's a raise on the button from Sammy, and he's flopped huge here, the royal flush draw. Tom's led it for 5, and I mean, Sammy's played this quite weak, hasn't he? Is he opening himself up to sort of a bluff on the river now?
Well, only if he folds to it.
He's missed his clubs, he's missed his overcards, he's missed...
Yeah, I wonder what Tom's thinking about doing here.
I mean, it makes sense to be bluffing now, doesn't it, for Tom? We're putting in a bet. And
it does. That is not a small bet at all. That's 2.5 times the pot or so. Making a little bit of a statement here, I think.
I mean, it's massive. It's
How much?
43.
Is Sammy really thinking about calling this? It's Is it such a big bet that it has to be a huge hand or nothing, or?
You would think so, though. If Sammy's going to call with ace high, then Tom can do it with a jack. I mean,
thank you.
A massive call from Sammy George early.
That is a big call. He is here to play.
And for Tom, the early bath. I mean, if you had to characterize sort of Tom Dwan's style,
King 8.
He's a really fearless sort of guy.
Oh, sorry.
in
Yeah, fine.
a lot of different ways. Fearless in the sense of he's willing to make big bluffs and big call downs, and also, you know, he's willing to play anybody. He's willing to win and lose gigantic sums of money. He's just a really gutsy poker player.
so a great start to the match and sort of an indication that these guys are going to be willing to get the money in with or without a hand.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to see some action here.
Sammy peeling off the flop here.
Check. 5,000.
And is this kind of an automatic sort of continuation bet for Tom? That's what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, I think he'll be betting often here with any 2 overcards to that board. That's not a good card for Tom to continue bluffing here. I think he's likely to check back. It can give Sammy trip 10s, and it also improves his second and third pair hands because they now lose to fewer hands than they did on the flop. And Tom Rivers top pair.
Check.
Automatic value bet.
I would think so. You would have to be very worried that your opponent was checking trip 10s or some sort of flopped monster to consider not betting here.
13,000.
I hate that.
Wow, and a quick pass from Sammy, sort of perhaps indicative that he doesn't think Tom's going to be doing much bluffing.
I guess in that spot specifically, maybe. He certainly was giving Tom some credit for being able to bluff when he made that ace-king call.
It is going to be a long, long match, and I guess, like, the first
Nothing
few
less.
hands, really a feeling out stage. I mean, how do you begin a heads-up match? Tight?
Usually not.
Raise 3,000 total.
I tend
Re-raise
not to play very
3,000.
tight at any point of a heads-up match. I think it's important to really be contesting the small pots, as Tom is doing here. He's re-raising with Jack-7 suited, hoping to pick it up either pre-flop or maybe with a bet on the
36.
flop.
Wow, he is
It's like it's gonna be a
re-raising.
re-raise.
And obviously the problem with that, right, you're kind of...
I don't love re-raising that hand. Re-raising a weaker hand to bluff, I think, is a good play. Re-raising a stronger hand for value, I think, is a good play.
Hey,
With
Dave,
ace-jack
you've
there,
got to
when
go
Tom
Monaco.
gives him action, it's almost always going to be with, like, a slightly better hand. He's
One
setting
day next
himself
week,
up to
massive
play a
games
pot
there.
against
Got a ship
ace-king,
come back.
ace-queen, medium to big pairs.
My hands are tiny. I can't get to the chips. There we go.
The positive thing, though, is that Sammy, so far,
Right.
taking a very aggressive
Stand up,
attitude.
pre-flop
Yeah.
raise. Okie dokie. Let's rock.
Cool.
The spirit of this match
It's awesome.
Oh, with my
already
buddy.
sort of the tone set that it's going to be, even though contested, friendly. These guys are both gentlemen poker players in a sense.
Absolutely.
If I had just one heart in my hand, I call. Even if it's the deuce.
That's something I love about high-stakes poker, is that players are mostly very civil with each other. There's a very sort of sporting, friendly, competitive, but,
Right.
you know,
3,000 total.
there's a certain camaraderie that comes with gambling for these stakes.
Re-raise. 11,000
People get along for the most part.
And these stakes are, of course, these stakes here are pretty much about as big as are played in poker today. This is about as
Yeah.
big as it gets.
Yeah, it is not often that you see a heads-up game, or really any sort of game, for stakes bigger than this. 500 1K blinds, 250 big blind stacks. They're going to play a $500,000 pot sometime pretty soon.
3-bet from Sammy. Call in position from Durrrr.
Oh, man.
Are we going to be seeing him do a lot of that tonight?
Time.
I think so. In my experience
Bet.
playing with him and seeing him play against other players, he does not like folding to 3-bets, especially when he's in position.
Oh, yeah, that hand yesterday was with Marcus, with Ronald. I had
9-4.
I had 4-9 of spades, and the flop came like, I think 10, no, ace, 4, 6. And then
Already ahead.
he bet like
50,000.
fat chord, and I hit the 9 on the turn.
Yeah.
And I said to Erica, before the 9 came on the turn,
Off to a good
I said
start
to
for
Erica,
Sammy.
listen, I said to Erica, look, this is a Dwani hand. It's just uber wrong.
Uber wrong. I've
Right.
sort of been noticing that these guys obviously very
Didn't
good
care about
friends,
calling
and
on that one, huh?
Sammy has sort of taken on the Durrrr lingo. He's
Yeah.
everything is uber sick and
5,000. Call.
how tough is it to play these small players heads up?
Well, small pairs are pretty strong hands in general, heads up, but when you're in a spot like this where there's a pair and another card larger than your pocket pair on board, it's really difficult to play your hand because every card in the deck is so bad for you. You know, the 6 turns now, and then on the river, a 6 or a 10 counterfeits Sammy's hand, and he plays the board. And any card 7 through Queen or so is pretty good for Tom, and pretty bad for Sammy.
Such a goofball.
No.
Yeah, he's gotten away from it.
I would have bet the river after that move. Although I would have bet the river before that move also.
That was what I had in my mind. It's like, if I call that, what am I prepared to call on the river? 15 all in or what?
And Sammy's got the right idea here.
Or something
Tom
like
seems
that?
to have made it clear that if Sammy plays
Oh, talk to
passively,
my-
Tom's
talk
going
to my friend.
to make a lot of big bets and
Okay,
give
let me
Sammy
study
tough
what you do here.
decisions.
3,000 standard? Okay.
3,000 total.
All right, let's see. A flop.
Call.
And yet, there is sort of a theory that sometimes you sort of revert to passive play and defensive play certain points in a match. I mean,
Definitely.
Check.
I think that just calling with that hand is a perfectly good play.
check on the flop. Sammy now with the second nuts anyway.
Sammy has to be very confident he has the best hand here.
And what sort of decision is this right now for Durrrr?
500.
Well, what's the sizing of this bet here? That's a big bet.
Oh, it's like triple pot.
Yeah, just about. For a pot-sized bet, he would have had a really tough decision. And it's hard to call against that bet, I think. Though at the same time, how often is he going to have better than a king there? Is he just going to give up the pot every time Sammy makes a big bet?
Yeah, bro, it'd be so much fun.
What?
It's sort of
It
like
will
the
be so much
patterns
fun
are now
this,
being set for later. Is that what you see?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just look at some of the new stats we'll be tracking in this match. Total aggression is a ratio of how often a player bets or raises versus calling.
Right, and what you can see from these numbers is that Durrrr is playing more aggressively than Sammy, which is not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just that Tom, when he's playing a big pot, more often has the lead, and Sammy is getting to the river, facing a big bet, and having to guess if he should call or fold.
Tom, Durrrr, Dwan, and Sammy, and E2 George have struck up an unusual friendship over the past few months.